The path ahead is not by chance. There is a force beyond your understanding that has led you to this moment. The days ahead are not like any other you've experienced. These are the final days of a shift that will irrevocably change the course of your life. May 30th to June 1st must be a time of complete solitude. This isn't negotiable, it's an imperative. A new phase is unfolding in your existence, one that moves beyond mere desire into the realm of manifestation. What once seemed impossible, what you have long wished for, is no longer a distant possibility. It is already on its way into your reality. But for this transition to be fully realized, you must retreat from the noise that surrounds you. The distractions that cloud your perception will only pull you further from the truth you are meant to awaken to. These days are your opportunity to reconnect with the inner power that has always been within you. From May 29th to 31st, retreat completely. This is not a moment for casual contemplation. It is a sacred invitation to distance yourself from everything and everyone. The world will be full of noise, but your destiny calls for you to embrace this silence. There is a reason you must be alone. Only in solitude can you hear the whispers of your soul. In this rare and critical time, the forces of transformation are at their peak, and they will be disruptive for those unprepared. This period is meant for those ready to harness the energy of change. It is essential for you to shield yourself from external chaos, allowing you to absorb the spiritual alignment that is being offered. Your retreat is not an act of avoidance, but a deliberate choice to align with the higher frequencies that will guide you toward your true purpose. The journey ahead requires your undivided attention. There will be no room for distractions. The strength to navigate what lies ahead lies in your ability to embrace this moment of quietude. As the world around you continues, you will find clarity not in noise, but in the stillness that will envelop you. It is here, in this sacred silence, that you will find the power to rise. The time to awaken has come, and it can only happen in solitude. Embrace it. True strength reveals itself not in the crowd, but in the hush between heartbeats, in the ability to endure without echo or affirmation. Throughout time, those who shaped the unseen fabric of reality stepped away from the world before they ever confronted it, not as an escape, but as preparation. The journey inward is an ancient rite few recognize, a season not of silence, but of tuning into a frequency too subtle for noise to comprehend. The stretch of days from late May isn't just numbered time, it's a rare alignment, a furnace for reshaping one's spiritual architecture. What seems like stillness is actually construction, unfolding in secret. As this pivotal window unfolds, an invisible weight descends, not to crush, but to test. There will be moments where clarity feels distant and emotion presses in, with no clear source. But these are not accidents, they are the chisels of transformation. Each wave of disorientation strips away the fragile layers built to survive, leaving only what's durable enough to lead. In this quiet crucible, endurance is refined, not by effort, but by surrender. This isn't about solving anything, it's about surviving the burning without losing your shape. No challenge appears to break you. It arrives to introduce you to the part of yourself you've never had to call forward until now. The forces at play aren't random. They're the curriculum for those ready to evolve. The tension, the friction, the detachment, they all serve one purpose: to distill. The less you engage, the more you access. Every conversation, every digital echo is now a thread that could unravel what you're trying to build. This moment doesn't ask for noise. It demands the precision of withdrawal. To protect what's blooming, boundaries must be absolute. Close the door. Let the digital landscape vanish. Silence the loop of surface-level updates. This retreat isn't about denying connection. It's about strengthening the signal to your inner compass. Let the world turn without your input for now. Like a sealed chamber purifying what's within, this is how you begin to hear again. Not with ears, but with essence. In the hush of these final days, the world inside finally becomes louder than the one outside. And in that space, what's true finally has room to speak. Not everyone is wired to remain conscious in a world lulled by comfort. While the masses ease into distraction, like drifting leaves on a silent current, a different calling stirs within those meant to remain alert. There is movement behind the stillness, subtle pulses within the ordinary that only the attentive will notice. Being awake now isn't just a matter of thought, it's a state of vigilance that transforms perception into protection. As surrounding energies grow heavier and confusion thickens, this deep presence becomes a shield. What feels like hyper-awareness is actually alignment with an unseen reality most overlook. To hold this clarity in the midst of mental fog is both a burden and a quiet superpower. In these moments, one doesn't just survive, they signal to others what is possible beyond sleep. When the unseen presses in, it won't be with sound or spectacle. It'll slip through unnoticed doors, anxiety without origin, spirals of thought with no resolution, the sudden collapse of certainty. These are not random waves. They are calibrated to shake foundations and test what stands after the trembling. The true battle is internal, quiet and strategic, meant not to defeat, but to refine. Resistance becomes revelation. Each doubt faced without collapse becomes a new threshold crossed. The storm itself becomes the teacher. Imagine not a hammer striking metal, but pressure shaping something from within. Like minerals forming crystal in absolute darkness, unseen but irreversible. That is the nature of what's unfolding now. The tighter the squeeze, the more exact the carving. Strength is no longer about brute endurance, but precision, the ability to stay still, focused, and undistracted while unseen forces apply tension from all angles. Beneath everything that appears still, currents are shifting. The fabric of the world is being pulled in new directions, some rapid, others subtle, but not all are equipped to register the shift. It takes a different kind of tuning to feel what's happening below the surface. Like a string pulled taut, this sensitivity can hum with warning or guidance. It isn't always comfortable, but it is purposeful. And for those who can hear the hum beneath the silence, the message is clear. Change isn't coming. It's already here, and it's moving through you first. Some are shaped to detect what others deny, the flicker behind the sky's stillness, the undertow beneath life's routine. These tremors running through the world are not mere environmental quirks. They're transmissions, a silent announcement that the fabric of reality is in the midst of rearrangement. Where most feel unease and brush it off as mood, for others, this signals entry into a higher current. What feels like pressure to many is actually propulsion for those built to transmute it. This isn't discomfort for its own sake. It's a coded invitation for inner ascent. The body senses what the eyes can't explain, and when honored, this instinct becomes the very tool that tunes the soul to its next evolution. Stepping away from external disruption isn't retreat, it's resonance. And those who honor this inner alarm become vessels of emergence, not victims of change. As this inner tectonic shift unfolds, resistance from unseen spaces will surge. The distortion will be felt not in what's visible, but in subtle ruptures, fractures in thought, fog in emotion, invisible pulls toward despair. But these aren't failures of the spirit. They are friction points meant to be transcended. The very chaos trying to break through is the sculptor of resilience. It filters out what cannot hold form and reveals what was hidden beneath habit. Silence becomes a sanctum, not because it blocks the storm, but because it allows you to hear beyond it. And in that space, strength sharpens. Instead of imagining armor or warfare, think of a flame that does not flicker, even when the air shifts or shadows loom. This moment calls not for defiance, but depth, to endure not through effort, but through alignment. Every second withdrawn from chaos reinforces your signal. Stillness isn't static. It amplifies the frequency of clarity. The steadier you remain, the more your presence becomes an invisible landmark to others navigating this distortion. When the world spins, the anchored become reference points. None of this unfolds by chance. There's design in this season, an exact placement of your spirit in this turning. The separation you feel isn't exile, it's calibration. A moment where the external dims so the internal can erupt. Within this quiet chamber of time, parts of you thought lost or unreal will begin to stir. This is more than reflection, it's ignition. And when it begins, it won't just feel like awakening. It will feel like remembering something that was always there, waiting for the world to go quiet long enough to be heard. Some awaken not through applause or guidance, but through silence that echoes with unseen instruction. Those destined for rare transformations are often pulled into solitude, not as punishment, but as preparation. Across time, certain lives have bloomed only after vanishing from the world's gaze. What looks like absence from the outside is, in truth, a sacred construction taking place within. This period marks not exile, but refinement. What stirs now inside you is a quiet recognition. You are part of a timeless pattern where isolation becomes the gateway to illumination. Every step away from the familiar is a step deeper into alignment with something that transcends explanation. Though the strongest influx may surge during the final days of May, the arc of this transformation does not conclude there. June begins not with ease, but with crescendo. The weight that builds may not release immediately. It sharpens one last time, testing your resilience in new dimensions. There is no abrupt finish line, only a final climb where clarity sharpens and strength is crystallized. To shift fully, the focus must not waver. This final phase offers a deep settling, a locking in of the internal rewiring already underway. Only those who continue to honor the stillness will be able to stabilize what's just begun. Think not of waves or wind, but of pressure building behind a dam, where the wall must hold until the waters flow with purpose. What happens next depends on steadiness, not speed. To falter now is to undo what's been rising. Steady your presence like a metronome in a room full of chaos. Let the unseen motion pass through you without reaction. Trust that you've been placed in this exact moment to remain anchored while others drift. Alienation is not a mistake. It's part of the design. The further you go, the less recognizable you'll seem to those who remain at the surface. They may misunderstand or pull away, not out of rejection, but out of inability to comprehend the path you've stepped onto. This distance isn't personal. It's a signpost that the gap between frequencies has widened. The choice to continue isn't about proving anything. It's about honoring what's real, even when no one else sees it. There comes a point in every sacred path when recognition disappears and all that remains is the call from within. That voice will not be loud, but it will be true. While others measure life by what's visible, yours is being shaped by what cannot be seen. You are not meant to blend in. You are meant to illuminate from a place they have yet to arrive at. Let their misunderstanding be confirmation, not doubt. Those who walk the unfamiliar are often invisible, until the world finally catches up to what they've become. What many mistake for disconnection is actually a sacred returning, an inward turning where the deeper layers of self are finally given space to surface. When the outer world falls silent, something ancient and hidden begins to stir within. This isn't emptiness, it's the beginning of an inner expansion. What appears quiet on the outside is a chamber of profound recalibration. Freed from external static, the spirit exhales. What follows is not passive waiting, but a slow unveiling. Beliefs unraveling, emotions leveling, inner truths rising like untouched waters from a hidden spring. This is where the real change takes root, not through force, but through stillness. There is no need for spectacle to mark the beginning of transformation. Just as shifting plates beneath the earth reshape entire landscapes above, your quiet pause now is seeding massive internal movement. These moments of deep withdrawal aren't a caution, they're a crown. They're the subtle signal that you've reached the doorway to a higher state. Not everyone makes it here. Arrival is earned. You've already crossed thresholds the world never witnessed. What surrounds you now is not warning, but elevation, a sacred initiation reserved for those whose integrity held steady through invisible fires. This is not about isolation, it's about distinction. The current lifting you now is not punishment, it is praise, encoded in silence. Expect every part of yourself to be rewritten, not harshly, but precisely. Where fog once lingered, understanding sharpens, emotional static clears, and what once triggered now dissolves. Your core stabilizes. Even the body will begin to echo this shift in subtle, unfamiliar ways. Clearer sensations, altered rhythms, a soft alertness humming beneath your skin. These aren't side effects, they're signs of alignment. The vessel is adjusting to a frequency it once only dreamed of. And with every pulse of stillness, your capacity expands. When this passage completes, nothing within you will remain untouched. You will exit, not repaired, but reformed. Not returning, but rising. Ready. The moment demands more than reflection. It demands response. Something subtle yet vast is shifting beneath the surface, pressing urgently for your full attention. Hesitation now isn't harmless, it is costly. Every second spent in indecision invites interference from currents that will not wait. There is a thinning in the fabric around you, and it calls for immediate recalibration. What you do in this window will echo far beyond it. Disconnect from the noise. Disengage from distractions. Let the unnecessary fall away, and step deliberately into the quiet space where your next becoming begins. This is not a suggestion. It is a directive from the core of your own evolution. The path has lit itself beneath your feet. You must walk it. Now, what approaches is not a change in scenery, but a rupture in perception. The structure of reality is bending, and soon, certain truths long hidden will begin to surface, not as ideas, but as direct experience. For most, it will pass unnoticed. For a rare few, it will open like a crack in glass, revealing a depth previously veiled by routine and illusion. This moment is not symbolic, it is precise, a crossing point where the illusion of permanence gives way to fluidity. But only those who have attuned themselves through quiet discipline will be able to witness and withstand what is revealed when the curtain lifts. As this shift becomes tangible, senses will stretch in unexpected ways. Patterns once dismissed as coincidence will strike with new significance. Time will feel pliable, and events will sync with internal movements. The mundane will begin to shimmer with hidden codes. With this deeper sight comes a new weight, the responsibility to walk differently, to perceive without collapsing under the enormity of what's shown. This awakening doesn't flatter, it challenges. You must prepare the vessel to receive without breaking. Once passed through, the old frameworks will no longer support who you've become. This is the moment of no return, not in fear, but in fullness. Those who have been shedding, purging, and watching from the edges are being summoned inward, not to vanish, but to step forward with a new kind of presence. Everything is converging into a single moment of inner reckoning. And when the passage opens fully, only those who have dared to refine in solitude will be steady enough to carry the weight of what arrives. Not all will feel it. Not all will be able to walk through. But those who do will emerge carrying a frequency that changes not only their path, but the pulse of the world around them. There are moments when something within begins to shift so profoundly that even the body feels unfamiliar, like a system rewriting its own instructions in real time. What's occurring beneath your awareness is not simply change, but transformation on the most fundamental level. Internal mechanisms you've never consciously controlled are now responding to higher intelligence. But this doesn't happen in noise or movement. It happens in stillness. The process is fragile, precise, and easily disrupted by outside interference. In deep quiet, where interference vanishes, your entire being becomes accessible to recalibration. Not through effort, but through surrender. Your essence becomes receptive to codes that rewrite the limits of your previous existence. It is there, in the silence between distractions, that your core begins to receive the upgrades meant only for those prepared to be still. Ancient wisdom often spoke in symbols, but the message was clear: retreat transforms. In modern language, we are beginning to glimpse the same truth. Stillness reorganizes the body at the molecular level. This is not poetic exaggeration. It is sacred biology in motion. You're standing at the threshold of a powerful inner restructuring, but it won't unfold while your focus is scattered. Only a clean field can receive pure data. The deeper you lean into solitude, the clearer the signal becomes. This isn't about withdrawing from life. It's about synchronizing with a higher rhythm encoded into your blueprint long before your awareness could comprehend it. The body knows, it remembers, but it can only activate if you make space. What you're about to encounter cannot be dressed in metaphor. It is real, and it is relentless. A conflict older than memory is intensifying, not on screens, but in the unseen, where influence begins and outcomes are forged. This isn't theater. This is spiritual confrontation. And you are not placed here by chance. You are being forged for function. But before the call comes the cave. Before movement, there is preparation. Every doubt that rises, every fear that whispers, is a test, meant not to destroy you, but to expose where reinforcement is needed. This is not failure. This is the terrain of training. Solitude is not hiding. It's hardening. The world may not see what's coming, but you feel it. And feeling is a kind of knowing that needs no proof. You aren't being asked to perform, only to endure. Your solitude is your stronghold. It is the forge where your discernment is sharpened and your vision cleared. While the outside world rushes unaware toward its reckoning, You are being equipped, quietly, precisely, for something greater than resistance. You're becoming a beacon, and though the path seems solitary, there are countless others undergoing the same activation in parallel silence. Together, without seeing, you form a vast network of light, rising through the cracks of a collapsing illusion. Hold fast. The real mission has not even begun. Some days don't whisper. They roar through the air, charged with an invisible current that rattles even the most grounded. What approaches isn't an ordinary shift. It's a convergence of forces so raw, so electrically unstable, that moving through it without sacred preparation could unearth chaos where there should be clarity. This is not a warning spoken in fear, but a signal of magnitude. The atmosphere will pulse with contrast, forces colliding in realms most never perceive. That moment demands stillness, not exposure. It asks that you withdraw completely and honor the unseen intensity moving through the hour. While many will unknowingly step into turbulence, unable to protect what's fragile within them, your retreat becomes your declaration. You are ready to face magnitude without being consumed by it. This charge won't arrive gently. It will surge and retract like an unpredictable tide, pulling at every layer of your being. But this intensity is not here to destroy. It is here to refine. What you hold within must be tempered before it can lead. Choosing to disappear from the noise, to disengage from the surface world on that day becomes your sacred affirmation. You are not avoiding the storm. You are absorbing its meaning without letting it uproot you. The deeper your silence, the more fully the transformation can unfold. Standing firm inside your isolation becomes a sacred stance, a spiritual contract signed with faith and sealed in stillness. The distortion in the air will not be abstract. It will press into the psyche, agitate the emotional field, and seek cracks in the unguarded. It may manifest as persistent unease, strange thoughts, or sudden spirals in perception. These aren't imagined. They're engineered attempts to disrupt and destabilize. But they cannot penetrate where presence is strong and distraction is severed. The solitude you maintain is not passive defense. It is an active, energetic command. It seals your space, saturates your field, and sharpens your discernment. Within this sanctuary, interference collapses, and divine clarity steps forward. You are not merely surviving this day. You are shaping it from within. Each moment hidden in intention, each breath rooted in trust, reinforces the light you carry. And while the outside world trembles under forces they can't name, you remain fortified. This isn't just about shielding, it's about contribution. The stillness you embody radiates outward, forming an unseen architecture of balance. You are part of a greater grid of souls who've been synchronized to hold space in this exact threshold of time. And when doubt tries to creep in, when isolation feels too vast, or questions begin to echo, remember this. You were designed for this. Every lesson, every scar, every silent knowing has led to this alignment. Nothing about your presence here is incidental. You are positioned precisely, not randomly. What's unfolding through you now is part of a design too intricate for the surface to explain. But the core of your being recognizes it completely. Stand firm inside that knowing. You're not enduring the storm. You are anchoring its purpose. You didn't stumble here by coincidence. There's a pulse behind every repeated sign, every nudge in your chest, every unexplainable shift that brought you to this edge. Something greater has been guiding your movements from behind the curtain, setting the stage for this very threshold. What you feel now isn't just tension, it's alignment. A rare window has opened. And it's not waiting long. This moment is designed for ignition. Hesitation here doesn't just slow progress, it can collapse possibility. The guidance you've been receiving wasn't ornamental, it was preparation. Everything in you that has long waited for activation is now being summoned. Not everyone will recognize the invitation. Fewer still will answer it. But those who do, those who choose withdrawal over distraction, step into a timeline that cannot be found again once this portal fades. The timing isn't pressure, it's precision.